Welcome to Selectman's Corner. My name is Sarah Hewins, and I'm your host today. With me is Selectman Dick Ward, who is running for re-election to the Board of Selectmen. How are you, Dick?
Good morning, Sarah. I'm good.
I have a couple of questions for you. I'd like for you to tell our viewing audience a little bit about your background, if you can. A little history.
Well, I'm Dick Ward, Richard F. Ward, and I came here in 1964, 49 years ago, to Carver to live and to teach. And my wife and my 5 kids, and so I've lived here for those 49 years. My kids have gone to school here, and I've enjoyed my rural living here, and it's a great town.
That's great to hear. You know, Dick, a lot of people might be very surprised to find out that you were once a police officer and a firefighter. Can you tell us about that?
Well, when I first came to Carver, I joined the police department because at that time we had volunteer police officers or part-time police officers, and they gave me a gun and had me go in the cruiser, and I was off as a special police officer for, I guess it was 2 or 3 years. And I also joined the fire department as a volunteer. And in those days, the fire department was good here in Carver also.
That's interesting. I also understand that you were a selectman, I knew this, of course, quite a long time ago. And you also were town moderator. Why did you choose to be town moderator, run for town moderator at that time?
Well, when we were first here in the later 60s, when I was on as a fireman and a police officer, we needed to do something about the schools, and so we were contemplating going into the regional program with Plymouth. So that's what we did. It took time, and I became or ran for town moderator for 3 years, and then the folks that were working with me and supported me asked me to run for selectman, and so I did.
Okay.
And during that 3 years, that was in 1976, and I was the chairman of the Board of Selectmen at that time.
Okay, so the moderator came first.
Yes, yep. 3 years moderator, 3 years as a selectman, and then my children said, "Dad, we don't see you, we're going to vote you out." So I didn't run.
So you didn't run again. That's interesting. And didn't you start Carver Youth Soccer when your kids were little, speaking of kids?
Well, in those times, my kids were growing up, and they were young, and there was Little League baseball, but there was no youth basketball, there was no youth soccer, and we were talking about youth football, but that didn't happen right then. So another fellow and I started a youth basketball program and league at the old Governor John Carver School gym. And we set some teams up and got some colored shirts, and that was the start of youth basketball. Soccer, the kind of same thing happened. And then, of course, soccer grew, and I was coaching my own kids through that time. Plus, I was coaching at Plymouth Carver High School.
Oh, okay.
I was the head soccer coach and the head soccer wrestling coach and the head track coach at Plymouth at that time.
Wow. Wow. And the basketball and the soccer have really grown here in Carver too.
Oh yeah, soccer has grown big time here and big time in Plymouth, and it's a great sport.
Yep.
Because it accounts kids of all sizes are on an equal level.
Yep.
You don't have to be 6'6" and weigh 300 to play.
Right, exactly.
A little fast guy or a fast girl can develop skills and be as good as the big person.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Excuse me. I know that just shifting the focus a little bit, I know you served on the Plymouth Airport Advisory Committee. Just kind of for the folks at home who don't know what that was, what your role in it was, how you helped.
Yeah. At first, it was just representing the selectmen on the Plymouth Airport Commission, with the Airport Commission.
Okay.
We don't have a commissioner on that 7-member commission, but we did have one of the selectmen appointed to go to their meetings to update the selectmen on what was going on. Because remember, about a third of the Plymouth Airport is in Carver.
Right. That's
And
right.
then 2/3 are in Plymouth. So we are hooked into them right by the hip.
Right.
So then when they started talking expansion of the airport, we were concerned because the initial plan called for a 1,000-foot addition to the north-south strip, which would take it right down near Vaughan Estates in Carver
Oh, okay.
and Ward Street and South Meadow Village.
My village, right.
And there was a lot of concern with that. So we went to the meetings and we requested to be having a seat on the Plymouth Airport Advisory Group.
Oh, okay.
And they were going through a process. So actually, we ended up getting 3 people appointed,
Oh, good.
and I was one. And so we went through that process for a couple of years, and we finally came up with a plan that would equalize the north-south airstrip, which is 4,000 feet, put a safety runway on the end, which was not a usable runway in terms of regular traffic, just emergency.
Okay.
And then adding another 1,000 feet to the east-west strip, which would take it towards the Federal Furnace Road area and the golf course over there.
Okay.
And that would allow them, when the wind was in the wrong direction for north-south and they needed a longer strip, that they could use that extra feet and go east-west. So, and it also allowed that we could redistribute the air traffic a little bit so that it wasn't always going over to the south, I think. That's what the general winds make it best for taking off and
Okay.
such. So we wanted to try to reduce a little of that traffic. So those were the basic ideas of the expansion. So presently, that airport is going through FAA permits, because remember, 95% of the money for that expansion is coming from the FAA,
Oh, okay.
federal government,
Yeah.
and the state, and whatever you call the Mass Association for Aviation. So that is why I ended up serving on that.
Yeah. Sounds like
and
you
I
did.
think it came out as good as we could get it for Carver.
Yeah. Sounds like you did
Yeah.
a lot of good. You know, think there's any chance someday they'll have a Carver representative on the commission? It's a tough question.
No, the problem with it is as soon as you want a permanent seat on the airport commission, does that mean that any expansion or budgetary items we will have to share in? I mean, we need to work hard to keep our budgets, in constraint, and
Sure.
and so when you add another department, and so I say to the selectmen, I would recommend that you have a member, and that member goes to the meetings and keeps you abreast of what's happening.
Right.
I think as soon as you go for a commissioner, you might be also having to contribute to the budget of the airport,
Yeah.
which is something that we've got to maybe consider in
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah. But you're right. You'd have to consider it carefully because we
Right,
only
right,
have
right,
so
right,
much money.
yeah.
Speaking of town finances, your opponent says that our taxes in Carver are basically sky high. I just want to know what you think about the state of our taxes, particularly compared to the towns around us. If you have any thoughts on that.
I am pretty proud of where we have been and have come in my 6 years as a selectman. I read an article that was in the Boston Globe, and it was about the Department of Revenue,
Okay.
and they did a study, and this study came out a couple of months ago. Not an old study.
Right.
And in that study, there were 49 towns that they were referring to, all on southeastern Mass. And as you look through, over the 6 years, Carver's taxes have increased the least. Only one town was lower than we were over that 6-year period.
The increase.
We increased 11.6%, and we were below 48 of those towns. And many of those towns went up 30, 34, 36%
Over the 6 years.
over the 6 years.
Wow.
So we really have done extremely well.
Yep.
And we haven't done it in a manner that we're cutting people's head off. Any reductions that we made, we tried to take, like the 2 DPW men that retired 2 years ago.
Right.
We just didn't replace them in the DPW. We asked the remaining employees to spread the work out and do the work.
Yep.
And that has been the approach that we've used, and it works adequately. We're asking people to do more work, but they're doing the work, and so I'm happy with the direction that we've gone in.
Yeah, yeah. I think too that you mentioned the staffing. I think, you know, we're pretty minimal in terms of staffing, but the fact that we haven't had to cut services is
Well,
it's terrific.
we have a good education. The buildings are deteriorating. I'm afraid of the possibility of our education deteriorating. But I mean, if you go down, the police department is functioning well. We don't have a lot of controversy there. We have, if you go to any town in southeastern Mass, they'll tell you we've got the class of fire departments in the state.
Absolutely.
In emergency medical is super. They've got a quick response time. It doesn't cost us much because most of the costs go to the user as an insurance thing. And if you go through the town hall and the different departments, we're at bare bones. I mean, the people are doing the work, and we had, like, the Council for the Aging Director gone. We've adjusted, and now we have somebody doing that as a stipend. We've saved quite a bit of money, and we do have a need to put some people on to help with activities.
Sure.
But I mean, that is working, and so
It is. Yep. Yep.
I'm pleased
pretty
with
good
those
shape.
directions. I mean, I can't see with a town like ours. We have a lot of folks that are older that are mobile home parks, and so this is not going to change. If you think you're going to reduce the taxes, where?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to reduce the school budget, and watch out what you do to the education and the because they're at pretty bare bones too.
That's right. No, that's very true. That's very true. Speaking of education, Dick, you were a teacher for 31 years. Do you think we can afford a new school right now? Tough question.
I feel that we've been talking about it for 7 years. Folks, we need to do something about the schools. As I said, we have a good education, but we have buildings that are deteriorating. 64 years on one, 38 years on another. Our high school is 28 years old. We can't keep pushing this all back. We've got to deal with this whole problem. And if you're thinking, I know people have said, well, our pupil-teacher ratio isn't bad. Well, if you're looking at a group of 100 kids and there's 4 teachers, okay, that's a 25 pupil average. As soon as you have a special needs teacher working with them, you take that 100 kids, and instead of dividing it by 4 teachers, you divide it by 5. Now that makes the pupil-teacher ratio look low, but it really, it's 25 to 1 or 24 to 1. It's workable, but if you reduce it, the number of teachers more, it's going to become a management problem. Yeah. And so as a teacher, I support this effort to go forward. We gotta go forward with the school, and we gotta figure out how we're gonna pay for it.
Okay. As you know, Dick, taking another tack again as well, agriculture is Carver's main industry.
I'm a farmer.
And you're a farmer, that's right.
Now.
Why is agriculture so important to you, and why should it be to people in Carver?
Well, first of all, cranberries have been here for 150 years. Some of the bogs in town are 100 years old. And so some of our economy and people's jobs are based on that. Some of our tax base is based on that. I know in terms of numbers, out of every dollar that I pay in taxes, I only require like 38 cents for services. So that allows that extra to go towards other things that we need to pay for in town. So the cranberry industry is helping us to support our economy and our tax base. The three companies that have receiving facilities in Carver, Ocean Spray, Clement Pappas, and Deacon's, all are paying industrial taxes.
Yep.
So they're paying a pretty good tax bill, which also helps our town.
Right.
Okay? And open space. I mean, if you came here because you like the ruralness of Carver, I mean, when I came here, my kids were able to be in a good school. We had these beginnings of sports, and they could hunt and fish. I mean, these are things that a lot of people, I think, move here for their family. I want Carver to stay a good place for you to raise your kids.
Yep.
That's a big concern of mine. So I want to see cranberries and agriculture stay, and I hope that my neighbors and people in my community will feel that way and try to encourage our industry to stay alive in Carver. We are going through some difficult times.
Sure.
With the with a surplus in the industry, and so I'm worried about how that's going to impact us here in Carver, because Quebec is telling us, the government is telling us that Quebec and Chile together in another year or two are going to produce more cranberries than Massachusetts.
Wow.
That is not a good thing.
No, it's not. But ours are probably safer.
Ours are good old cows and blacks in there, and they're really what the cranberries are.
Yep.
You know, so.
And they're regulated well too. I mean, we don't know what people do overseas, you know.
Oh yeah, we have very stringent regulations that we have to follow on what we use for chemicals.
Yep.
I mean, the residues of them, you know, the latest that I can use a chemical is like 2 months before I harvest. Most of them, and some are 3 months and 4 months. And I'm not sure, you know, when you're getting fruit and vegetables from other countries, is there that much protection?
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
That's
So
right.
anyway.
Yep. Well, I'm interested in what you said about the, you know, your agriculture providing that open space to the town and not needing so many services. Sometimes it seems like that's a concept that's hard to get across to people. Even the upland behind your bogs that you don't use, you know, for anything much, is a tax positive piece of land just sitting there. Like,
Well, first of all, if like myself, my wife and I, we have 14 acres of cranberries. We need water, and in our case, we have like 5 or 6 acres of water, wetlands, not deep reservoirs, but 4 or 5 feet, and they're awesome places for wildlife and for habitat. And then we need buffers around, so we have upland that's around. So with that 14 acres, we have 50 acres that's related to what we're doing.
right.
So that 50 acres keeps that land in open space. And although I love kids, kids' educations are expensive.
Oh, yes.
And so when you're talking about 50 acres of houses, you're going to need a half a classroom to house those kids. And generally speaking, I think it's probably around $8,000 per youngster for their education.
Yeah.
12 years. So you know, with me having 5 kids, I still haven't paid back the money that it costs to educate my kids here in Carver.
Oh, yeah, same here. Yep.
So I feel like keeping the open space will help us in terms of many of the services that, you know, if we expand population fast like we did at a point there in the 80s and early 90s, it means we've got to expand services. I do think one thing, and I don't mean to get off,
No,
but
that's all
we
right.
need to add something to our police department to help them do their work. I'm watching and I'm seeing this drug problem throughout southeastern Massachusetts growing, and the crime that's related to it.
Yeah.
And we have like 15 or 16 full-time officers, and we've got a couple out on injury. So when you take 14 officers and we have no detective and we have no school resource officer, I'm encouraging our police department and our finance committee and everybody to say, hey, look, let's put some more police on.
Yeah.
Just just something that I'm concerned with.
Yep.
I'm concerned.
Yes, no, that's perfectly valid question. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a topic that's maybe a little touchy, bullying, respect. I know that in the schools, bullying is not allowed. I think that you and I have been seen some of it in some of our selectmen's meetings, and it's unfortunate. And I don't know how much you feel like discussing this or going into it. It's a tough topic.
It is. You need, as a selectman, to take the high road. You need, as a select person and a board, to show respect to the community. If somebody comes in to speak at citizen participation or in another issue, if they disagree with me, I think we need, and I am going to, respect that person and their opinion and give them their full opportunity to speak. I don't like it when somebody gets shut off, and this has happened a couple times over this past year. But basically, I'm saying is constantly try to treat people in a respectful way, and they in turn will respect us more. I get pretty discouraged when I read some of these Wicked Carver sites and see myself getting ridiculed, and I don't appreciate that. But I'm not calling anybody down on it. I'm just saying, hey, look, let's try to be more respectful of each other, all of us.
Yep. Amen.
Amen.
So Dick, tell us why you're really running. What made you decide to do it?
Well, you know, in the beginning I was thinking, well, I don't want to, maybe I'm not going to run. And so I had a little difficulty deciding. But I talked to a lot of young people. I talked to people in mobile home parks. I talked to people at the coffee shop. And I was feeling that we need to move forward on some of these issues that I've felt are important. And I need to continue to sit in with the Board of Selectmen and to go move forward on that. And if it means I've got to make some adjustments and such, I'm going to do that. But on the other hand, if there's something important that I can't, I've got to try to encourage my fellow selectmen to join in with me, and we go this route. So sometimes there is going to be a difference of opinion. It's not because we're not a team. The Board of Selectmen is a team. We have different opinions and different points of view, and they're all important. And so I felt, you know, I can't leave this position yet. I want to work hard for those issues. I mean, the big issue is the school. 70% of our budget is schools. We can't keep stacking these things up. We need to do something about the police and fire station also.
Right.
I mean, if you keep pushing all these things back, when are you going to address them? I want to address them.
Good. Well, I, for one, am glad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck during the election.
Okay. My campaigns always make your stomach churn.
Oh, yes.
So we'll just keep working. And on April 27th, at the end of the day, we'll know where we stand.
Yes, we will.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you for being with us here today for Selectman's Corner. My name is Sarah Hewins. I'm a selectman. And with us here today has been Dick Ward, candidate for re-election on April 27th. Thanks again for watching.